kind of talk to you guys a little bit about some of my experiences. Often when I connect with people the most is when I see people that look like me, people who are doing things that I'm interested in doing, that are authentic about their experience and allow you to understand and kind of see what they're doing. Sometimes things always looks better in the rearview mirror when people talk about their experiences and it seems like everything was just perfect. But just going to share a little bit about things from my perspective. So I'll start with EE Day. So in 2005, I presented at EE Day here. At that time, it was in the engineering library down the hill in the engineering building. My advisor was Dr. Anderson, and I did a project on beamforming. So for those not in the signal processing area, that's basically to direct a sound source. So I had a series of microphones that I had in a conference room, and the idea was that these automated conference systems, they pick up a lot of noise when they pick up the speakers because they're not able to zoom in on the specific speaker and who's speaking. And so we use two algorithms, the delay and sum beamformer, as well as minimum variance distortionless response. And I still remember this after all these years to see which one would provide the better outcome when you played the audio back to hear a speaker in a conference room. When I was at Howard here, I was also working at NASA at the time. So Dr. Sharika kind of started the process my freshman year and was like, you have to do an internship. I didn't really want to do one. He had found something in Minnesota at the Army High Performance Research Lab, and I was like, I don't want to go to Minnesota. But I went, and it turned out to be a great experience, and it allowed me to build on that because now I had experience in the following summers when I was applying for internships. So I saw a flyer in the building, and I applied for internship at NASA, which I was able to do and continue working there for my last 2 years while I was at Howard. So the reason why I ended up staying there was because after my first summer working, I was like, yeah, I bought a car. And then I realized that I had to pay insurance as well as gas. So the motivation to start was I needed the money, but it turned out to be a great experience because it allowed me to get hands-on experience while I was in school. So a Fourier series wasn't just a math problem that we had to do, but it was the application to see things, to look in spectrum and kind of understand how things work. So I got my first exposure to satellite communications outside on the roofs of buildings, trying to calculate passes and figure out before the pass finished to be able to see if what I had designed worked. So internships were a great opportunity, and it was an opportunity to learn what you like and what you don't like, right? So when you're a student, you think that everybody has things figured out, and they kind of have this laser focus on what exactly they want to do. But the longer you're out, the more you realize that people kind of do a process of elimination, right? So if you do something, internship, you like it, you kind of drill down deeper into it, or if you find you don't like it, now you know that this is a direction not to go into. So some people are lucky and they just know for sure what they want to do, but for me, it was an opportunity to get exposure to a lot of different things and see what it was that I really, really liked. Another thing about my time at Howard that was great, I took a course called Technical Entrepreneurship. This class was offered by some alumni at the time. I think now there's a lot of stuff going on with innovation here in the department, but it was my first time being exposed to venture capital, to patent law, a lot of the things that take your ideas from just being, research projects into something that can actually be commercialized. And at that time, a light went off and I was like, I'm going to put a bullet point here. This is definitely something that I'm interested in and want to continue to pursue. And part of my decision to go to apply to grad school at Stanford was around the whole idea of entrepreneurship and of taking what you learned and being able to commercialize it. So I applied to grad school, went to Stanford, and there I was able to get deeper into my knowledge. So my area was always wireless sensor networks, which is now kind of this whole Internet of Things space, but learning how to network the devices together under the underlying wireless protocols to make it all work. What are the operating systems that you're going to use on your devices, things like that. And so it was an opportunity for me to go very, very deep, as well as broad. So while I was there, I took classes in the Graduate School of Business and really got exposed to kind of what really can happen when you take your ideas to the next level. So after I graduated, I went to work at Lawrence Livermore National Lab. And it was an opportunity. I was a signal processing engineer and was working with RFID tags and electromagnetics and all those, just kind of really doing research. So 6 months after I graduate, my mom dies. So this was a very tough period for me. I had to decide what I was going to do, how I was going to handle it. And you're a whole person, right? Your professional life is only one portion of what you're going to do. So I decided that I wanted to be close to my family. I'm originally from the DC area, and that it was going to be a priority for me to spend time with the people that I love and care about. So I quit my job and I moved back to the East Coast. And one thing I did at that point was I reached back out to my advisor who I had worked with at NASA, and I was like, hey, I'm back on the East Coast looking for work. What can I do? And he's like, this is a great time. We are doing some work with protocol development, something called delay tolerant networking, which is, when there's no expectation of connectivity, how do you handle your routing? How do you do your networking? And I'd never done protocol development, but it was a great opportunity to see another layer of that whole picture for Internet of Things. And so for that, I would say to you guys to definitely keep in touch with your network. A lot of times you meet people and you lose touch or things like that, but you never know where life will take you, how you'll be able to help others or how they will be able to help you. So definitely keep in touch with your network. So a few years after that, I was working. I had gotten some really great experiences. I got to travel, doing protocol development, doing testing, prototyping in the lab. I realized, I was like, hey, time is passing. How am I getting closer to my dream of being an entrepreneur? Couple that with some drama in my department helped to give me the impetus that I needed to move on. So sometimes when you're in uncomfortable situations, it can be a good thing, because being uncomfortable sometimes can force you. It gives you that extra motivation that you need to go after your dreams and do the things that you know that you always wanted to do. So I started looking around to see what was available, what startups were around, reaching out to my network, starting to go into different events. And the next opportunity that I found, I got by going to an alumni potluck here in DC. So I went, and one of the partners at InQtel, which is the next place I worked, which is a strategic venture capital firm, was there. I told him that I was looking, and he said, okay, let's talk and see where things go from there. So after that, I got hired based on his recommendation to do mobile investments. And so this opened a whole world for me, because I was able to, when people want money, they'll tell you any and everything about their business. So I got to talk to tons of companies, people who were doing applications, people who were doing device security, people who were using the sensors on the devices to do novel applications, and sit there and ask them, right? Because at that point, I'm helping to make the decision on whether they're going to get funded. What were your challenges? How did you decide to get started? Who is your customer? What are your challenges? Are you able to do what you say you're going to do? So one of the reasons why they hire technical people for this is that business people will come and tell you, yes, we're going to get this thing done in 6 months. We're going to, do all these cool things. And they have no ability, either capabilities within their team, or it's not physically possible to do those things. And so it was a great opportunity to meet people, to learn about, business models, people's opportunities, etc. So one part of it, because we were a strategic venture capital firm, part of it is we had to talk with our strategic partners, understand their challenges and problems, because we could only make investments in companies where our business units would be willing to try out or use the technology that we're investing. And so out of that concept is where my current company came out of. So I realized that our strategic partners are not the only ones who are having issues understanding technology, what's new, what's out there, keeping up with the pace of everything that's out there and how it can be applied to their business. So we help people identify opportunities to innovate, find what's out there, so leveraging the network of universities, kind of the venture capital network, et cetera, to help them really stay on the cutting edge so that they can differentiate themselves, so that they don't become the next blockbuster, right? You can't ignore the technology, how it's changing your space and how it applies to your specific business. So I guess in summary, because we're supposed to keep this all short and informal, there are just a few things that I wanted to highlight from my personal journey. So my path was my path, and it was something that, figuring out as I go along. So at no means am I saying that I have, become Sergey Brin or Bill Gates at this point. I'm still pushing and achieving to greater things. But I think one thing you have to think about, we all talk about optimization as engineers, and I think one thing to be aware of is to optimize for being happy, right? There's a documentary on Netflix where they talk about happiness, and one of the main points is that after you have achieved a certain level of income where you can address your basic needs, going after more money after that point doesn't really help your happiness level, right? Being able to work on things that you're passionate about, things that you're interested in, things that you'll be happy to work an extra hour or two on because you're excited to see and learn about those things. So as you make your decisions on what to do next, where to go, definitely optimize for your happiness. And whatever that means for you, make sure that that's one of your important parameters as you make your decisions moving forward. The next thing I want to say is to be able to hustle. So things that you want to do, they don't just fall in your lap. The opportunities that tend to fall are what other people want you to do to accomplish their goals. But if you want to do things, you have to hustle and make them happen. So that might be going to whatever events are going on in DC Tech, finding people, talking to people, networking. Do what you have to do to create the opportunities that you want for yourself. The other thing is execute. So people always say an idea is just an idea. And it's very difficult to get opportunities, but when you get those opportunities, you have got to kill it. You have got to really, really rise to the occasion and show people that you are capable of doing what you're going to do. Unfortunately for us, we don't have the benefit of the doubt that when we walk in a room, people assume that you know what you're talking about. So when you get those opportunities, definitely come prepared, do an excellent job, go above and beyond, to show them that whatever they were thinking before you started, it was a mistake. And then the last two is just help. I kind of touched on this before, but we're here because of the people who've come before us. So definitely don't ever forget to give back. If you can make an introduction, if you can sponsor somebody's event, whatever you can do to help and continue to build your community of Howard alum, of minority engineers, continue to do that because, it's how we got where we are and how we're going to continue to excel and kind of get to the next level. And then the last thing is to continue to evolve and grow. So technology is something that changes too fast. They always talk about the statistics. The telephone took 35 years to get to 25% of the U.S. population, right? The internet took 7 years to get to 25% of the U.S. population. And as we see, the waves of technology keep coming faster and faster. So if you think that you will be able to rely on what you learned now, 10 years from now, you're definitely in for a surprise. So continue to evolve and grow and perfect your craft so that you stay excellent at what you do. So as you guys move forward, continue to share your stories because we often think, I'm not Oprah, so, I'm not at the point where people want to hear my stories. But I think that when you are close to people or you've gone a year before, like when I went to Stanford, there was a Howard alum that came 1 year before me. And he was super helpful because he got me class notes, he showed me around, we found study groups, etc. So in whatever areas or things that you find yourself in, continue to share your story and be able to help others be able to gain inspiration from what it is that you have accomplished already. And being at this point in your career is a major accomplishment. A lot of people don't get here, and so you should definitely congratulate yourself and great projects. I appreciated and enjoyed all of your presentations today. Thank you.